porch, we're going to have a little dessert treat tonight. I don't make a lot of desserts, but the few that I make we really like. And Fred baked some sweet potatoes today to have for lunch, and we have one extra, and I really hate for anything to go to waste. I also have a little bit of extra pie crust dough. If you've watched my other videos, I made pie crust and made some egg custard, and there's always just a little bit of pie crust dough left, and I really hate to waste it, so I refrigerated it. And now that I have all the parts, the sweet potato and the pie crust dough, we're going to have some fried sweet potato pies, and that's an occasional treat that I think you'll really like. Be right back. I have here in all its ugly glory a leftover sweet potato. We baked these. This one didn't get eaten. I'm not going to throw it away. I peeled it, I washed it, I put it in the microwave for a couple of minutes just to heat it up. You could do this in a saucepan on the stove, but I just heated it up in the microwave. Now, I'm really not going to be able to give you a recipe. You can make this to taste. This is the filling for our pie. I have here what I use for brown sugar. You can use brown sugar. This is artificial brown sugar because I can't eat sugar. You could also use a little maple syrup if you'd prefer. You just, whatever you use to sweeten with, you feel free to use that. And however much you want to use to get it to taste like pie, you go ahead and do that. Now this is not, I'm purposely not going to add any liquid to this. This needs to be firm because it's the filling for a fried pie, and you want to end up with a product that doesn't ooze out. And this will be about twice what we need, but it can then be refrigerated and used for a second batch later. Fried pies are one of those things that you don't want to make too many of. And yes, I didn't get every single piece of the peel off. That's okay. Then I'm going to add just a tad of ground cloves. No, I'm not measuring. This is just a tad. Probably about 1/8 of a teaspoonful for one potato. I know we're just working off the cuff here. And another little tad of nutmeg. I like to add just a little bit of vanilla. And a little cinnamon, probably a lot of cinnamon, because the flavor, in my opinion, pretty much depends on cinnamon and sugar. I say that as a diabetic who never eats sugar, who's always looking for a substitute. No, please don't send me a list of substitutes. I have come to agreement with myself that I'm going to use artificial sweeteners. And if you don't, that's fine. But I do. Okay, let's give it a little taste. Not bad at all. Needs just a little more sweet, I think. I just really can't tell you amounts because I always do this with leftover potatoes and they're always different sizes. So I always do it to taste. When it's stiff, kind of messy. Let me taste again with my new spoon. Yep, that's it. That's the way I want my fried pies to taste. We'll come back with the next step. I'm going to refrigerate this, then I'll come back. The next step is the crust. Before I make the crust, I'll tell you, several people ask about the pastry cloth and the rolling pin cover. And it didn't occur to me that folks would want to know, so I didn't say much about it in my pie crust video. This is inexpensive. I got it off Amazon. The brand is Ateco, A-T-E-C-O. I don't know if it's the best. It's the only one I've ever had. So it works for me. When I'm done, I roll it all up together and I seal it up in a great big old plastic bag. I don't wash it after each use. I seal it up. And then after it's been used several times, you can hand wash it, hang it up, stick. So I'm glad I got it. It was a new thing for me, and it was really worth the investment. So here I have, if you watched my pie crust video, you know that I made 2 single crust pies. And I had a little bit of dough left over from each one. Now, fried pie dough doesn't have to be handled so very carefully. It needs to be, or can be, I always make it just a little tougher because we're going to fry it. And it's going to be handled a good bit. So I have these 2. They've been refrigerated for 3 days. But I didn't want to throw them away. So I'm going to make fried pies out of them. And I'll handle them just a little rougher than I did the other. I think they need to be brought back into a ball to make it work better. Okay, floured pretty well. Let's go. You want them to be pretty thin. And I am putting a lot of pressure on it, more than I probably would for a regular pie crust. Remember, this is dough that's already been rolled out once. I rolled it out to make the pies. It's a little bit more elastic than it was before. We're almost there. to get off my stool. I might put a little elbow grease in it. Okay. It says not really a circle, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make 4 pies. I generally cut the dough, eyeball it in quarters. Okay, let me get my filling. I'll be right back. Okay, what I have here is a plate with some flour in it, a tiny little bit of water, and my filling. And my crust is cut into 4 pieces. So you're really only going to be able to put about a tablespoonful of filling in each one. And you want to put it over sort of to one side and spread it out a little. You do not want this to ooze out. It will mess up your finished product. And what I end up with is a triangle. Now I'll tell you, you don't have to make crust for this. You can buy a crust in the grocery store if you want to. It'll work just fine. Just a regular old pie crust. So I'm going to wet the edges. And that'll help it adhere. Then I'm going to do a little fold over here, so I'm going to wet it too. Now this is just a tiny bit of water, just enough to make the dough stick together. I'm going to move this one over to the plate. I might fold up this little edge too. A lot of people use a biscuit cutter and cut out round ones. I just got in the habit of making the more triangular ones because it's less trouble and you waste less dough. If I cut a bunch of circles out, I've still got leftover dough. My whole purpose of doing this, well, not my whole purpose, you know, I like to eat it too, but one of the reasons for doing this is to not have leftover dough. So I don't want to do a process that then gives me more leftover dough. That one's a little bit smaller. And I know that doesn't look like much filling, but when it heats up, it'll soften and spread. No, I think that's a little too close to the edge. We're going to take it out. That one's not going to stick. It'll be all right. You can also take a fork and go around the edges of these. As a matter of fact, I should probably do that and show it to you. So if you see that, that'll help it stay together. I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of them. I normally do, I just hadn't thought about it. And one more. And we're still going to have some sweet potato left. This would have made 8 or 9 pies. I'm only making 4. Yes, when I do this kind of stuff, I have flour from my nose to my toes. Okay. 4 little fried pies. They're very non-uniform. And we're going to heat up some oil and fry these. And we'll have them after dinner. They'll still be warm. Our oil is hot, I'm pretty sure. Let me check and make sure it's hot. Yes, it's sizzling. So we're going to drop our pies in. I think this cast iron skillet will hold all 4 if I place them right. Got a good sizzle going there. I know it must seem to y'all like we eat an awful lot of fried food, and we really don't. It's just those are the things that I end up filming for you. And just like with all fried food, wait until it browns on the bottom and lets go from the cast iron, and that does take a few minutes, so we're not going to rush it. Okay, you nudge just a little bit to see whether or not it's let go. And I'll explain for those who don't know what I mean. This is cast iron. It's really good cast iron. It doesn't stick. But when you put something wet, bready, into hot oil, and even in a cast iron skillet, it sinks to the bottom and adheres for just a few minutes. And as the bread or the breading on chicken or fish or whatever, as it cooks and crisps up, it lets go. One of the keys to frying is to wait for that to happen and not rush it. If you have trouble with the breading coming off of your fried food, like your chicken or your fish or pork chops or whatever you bread to fry, if your breading comes loose, that's because you're not waiting for that time when the breading has crusted up enough to be solid and strong. So you just wait until you get to that point before you really do anything with it. And the way I test it is just a gentle nudge. If it moves, then you've got a crust on the bottom. So these are a little bit tricky to turn. Not bad, but a little bit. Because you don't want to break the top yet. Because it's not cooked yet. Ooh, and we're getting a nice golden brown crust. Okay, we're going to let those fry a few and I'll come back. Okay, I wanted to give you a little bit closer look because we're almost done. And if you see, we've got a beautiful brown crust on that side. So we're going to give it just a couple of minutes to finish off. And we'll drain these. And I'm going to actually set them in the oven for us to eat after dinner. If you bit into it right now, it would probably injure you. I hope you can see how pretty that is. And it'll be crunchy and crispy when we bite into it. I want to give that one another minute. I'm not going to taste this one yet. This is for after dinner. But these are sweet potato fried pies or sweet potato turnovers. Whatever you call them, they're yummy, yummy. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. See you later.